I am Reverend Sue in service to you today. And our music, we are delighted to have Adrian and Judy. So the words will be coming down over my head for you to participate. Ladies?
So sing out and harmonize if you like.
We should just keep that down. What do you say? Or we could meditate as soon as it starts to come down. I'm game. I do want to welcome everyone here today, and we are here to inspire and empower you to live spiritually fulfilling lives. That's one of our missions and goals. So today the practitioners in service are Dr. Mary and Christy and myself, if you need any prayer support following the service. And we have a guest speaker today. I think that's why some of you are here, for Reverend Andy Torkelson from Chico. We look forward to his message today called The Wise Warrior. Not a better man to speak those words. And I'm tickled pink because I see Pam here from Arizona. Hello, Pam. Yeah, it's always a surprise to see people that have moved away and have come back to visit. So thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, did you move back? Well, I want to thank everybody that's here today. And first of all, I don't see any children. Am I missing it? Okay. So, here they go. All right. So why don't you guys come on up? We get to sing to you, The Face of God. I like it. They have their sunbonnets. Got your chairs back. Here we go. right, thank you. It's always the sweet part. Take a moment to quiet your phones for our service. And it's always wonderful to see if there's anybody new visiting us today. And we've already recognized several of you, and I know you've got your packets. Why don't you identify yourself by holding up your packet? Oh, you didn't get one? Oh, I'm glad I said it. There's some. All right, well, welcome. There's a couple over here, and these two women, and this gentleman here. So anybody else? Don't want to leave you out. And just so you know that usually after the services we have a very boisterous social hall, but we're kind of taking just a little bit of a summer break on that to give the kitchen cookies a little bit of time off. And so that'll be happening again. And I also want to know that you all to know that the first week of August we are celebrating new members. So I'm going to go buy them a cake. So that'll be on the first Sunday. So I know that this whole place is going to be filled up because there's cake. So that's something to look forward to. And quickly through the announcements. First of all, oh my gosh, Dick Sorensen. I know he's not here right now. Oh, there he is. You manifested. I want everybody just to put your hands up and with loving flow towards this man. Stand up, Dick, and receive it. Just feel it. Just feel it. I mean, thank you. Thank you, Dick, for so many things that you've been doing around here. And I know Nadine's been right by your side, and she receives all the love bouncing off of you. And I know Charlie's been a big help too. But he's put up these signs out here to try to let the people know that when we're closed, this is not open parking for the field over there, and so many different things that you've been continually championing. And he's going to help with our sound system, getting it all spiffed up. But every call there is, Dick, you're showing up. And so I don't know how to thank you enough, but from my heart to yours, we all thank you. Yeah. So powerful. The announcements, other than that, we have Roy here. If you have any of the men here want to ask him questions about what is this men's group, he is the one to connect with. He also is championing it coming on Zoom for you as well, so just give him your email address and he will give you that invite. He does it twice a month. He's very faithful to it. And tomorrow night it's from 7 to 9 here if you want to show up in person. And I know Steve is not here to announce the Awareness Folding Day, but it's this Thursday. I don't think I can. But it's something that helps our center a lot. We have our newsletter coming out for August and September, and Lori really welcomes the help. But you need to know that the ladies that are in there and the gentlemen that are in there, boy, the conversations, you just turn Judy Preble on and just listen to the stories. Fold the papers. Yeah, it's a lovely time to get to know each other, and it's a fun way to serve the center. We have meditation coming up again with Jill Matthews next Thursday at 6:30 to 8 o'clock. She's entitling her series, Awakening to Oneness with Life. And she is really taking us into several different practices, and we've just enjoyed the company with her, and it is in the pavilion on this coming Thursday. On Friday, connecting with the Hope Van, Shasta County Hope Van, if you are interested in feeling what it's like to serve the shelterless, some food, some very substantial food. Our center is responsible for bringing some kind of a warm dish or cookies, something like that. The Methodist Church joins us. They do sack lunches. But and the Episcopal Church is there as well. And it's just a united field of love. And we serve the people that are there coming to the Hope Van, but also live in the woods nearby. So that starts at 8:15. It moves quickly. We're done by 9:15. We'll also be giving away some of our shoes for souls at that time. And jumping a week ahead to August 5th, I will be doing another Grace of Aging Sage workshop with our Shirley Wade. She's here in the front. And we're taking on life completion, and we're calling it the mystery. And so we invite any of you that are interested, 9:30 to 12:30 on August 5th. And a big community event that's coming up, some of you know about it. It's nourishing our community, and if you think you've been here a long time, you can start calling it knock and be really cool. Knock. Oh, I'm going to help it knock. But read about it in your program and get up some clever ideas, because this is a way. People want to say, how do I get to know more people here? It's through this. You invite people into your home. You won't know your guests until after the bidding's over, and it's a really fun way to cook a meal for somebody or take them on an adventure and really tie the knot in friendships. So that's going to be starting the sign-ups for that, to be a host or hostess, August 6th through the 27th, so throughout August. And finally, the meditation, we're all about spiritual practices. That's what I say when I'm up here all the time, do your practices. And we've been inviting Jill to come with Jill Matthews with the meditations. And we had Irene on Friday night with her crystal bowls, which was very transformative. And then we have August 6th returning Joan Richards with the gong meditation. You know what's so special about these? The bowls and the gong. You know how you kind of think, okay, I need the right outfit to meditate. I need to sit a certain way. I need a mantra. I'm not ready. I'm restless. But when you come to these things, it's the sound that takes you inward. And you don't have to do anything but be present. So look forward to that with Joan Richards, the gong meditation, 6:30 Sunday night, August 6th. So a lot of lovely things coming up for you. So we're going to move into our service, and I want to invite Lori up to do the reading. We'll sound the bell, and that's a spiritual practice. We take that bell, just like Thich Nhat Hanh reminded us, to listen to the sound of the bell, to take you inward to the still place within you. And then we'll do a prayer to support Reverend Andy's talk, and you just sit back and be inspired. So, Miss Lori, thank you.
So today's reading that Reverend Andy sent is about the wise warrior. I look deep into my heart, to the core where wisdom rises. Wisdom comes from the unnameable and unifies heaven and earth. Psalm 121, translated by Stephen Mitchell. What wisdom do I have? Who might I share it with today? What wisdoms do I seek? Where might I encounter them? Contemporary scholars, ancient texts, those beings who live in the animal world, an elder, an infant, the female, the male, other cultures, subcultures, those who make war, those who make peace, or that which I call higher power. Shepherd Bliss, spiritual and psychological men's movement, writer, educator, speaker, and counselor.
Let's take a deep breath in, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And join with me in knowing that there is only one power, known by many names: God, love, divinity. It is in everything. It moves through everything and lives as everything. This ever-evolving, ever-expanding presence is all there is. I am a carnation of this divine one with other divine expressions of God. I know I speak my word for each person here and online that we are divinity. I claim for you and for me that we are now open to recognizing God's highest divine idea. As Reverend Andy speaks from his heart today, I know every masterful thought and loving words are for our divine opening. Our thoughts are clear, energized, and open. We experience the ever-present Gods within us. And I know that our very presence makes the waves flow throughout this community, crashing and flowing into the world. We are beams of light out in the world. And I am so grateful for our amazing, caring community. At CSL Reading, I am so grateful. I release my word into the law for its perfect unfoldment, knowing it is done right now. And together we say, and so it is. Reverend Andy?
Hello? Oh, there I am. Hello? Sound like Charlton Heston or something. What a lovely prayer. I mean, wow, I feel so loved and supported, and thank you so much for that. It's so great to be here. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the invitation to speak. CSL Reading has a very special place in my heart. And Reverend Sue and Reverend Mary, I love you guys. I think about you often, and you guys have both inspired me so much, so thank you. Reverend Sue gave me this assignment, The Wise Warrior, and I was sort of like, okay, I was kind of taken back by it, and and it's completely a personal thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with the title. It was the word warrior that I kind of struggled with, and when I think I'm allowing myself to be impacted by kind of our current politics and some of the stuff going on in our country, and I see it within my own family. I have a sister, and when I reach out to her and we connect, she moved to Texas, and so that'll kind of tell you something right there. But anyway, I'm leaving California, I'm going to Texas. What does that tell you? Anyway, you can fill it in. But so I call her, and I know that she loves me and I love her, and and we both come from in my family growing up. Politics was a contact sport. I mean, it was. People had really strong feelings, and that's what we grew up. So we both have to, really put a lid on it and just really love each other and stuff. And then if you mix religion into it, which is being done now, and so I decided, though, I'm also I also really want to always inspire myself to stretch and to be open. I said, okay, I've got this word warrior, and what am I, so I really wanted to get into this. And so I spent a day or so just really thinking about warrior, and I was kind of writing some stuff down, and I was looking a little bit up around the idea of warrior. And one of the first ideas that comes up with warrior is a righteous cause. And in warfare, they would call this the campaign, or what's the mission? What are we doing? What's that beach we're going to go to, or whatever? And so in terms of translating it to something that I can work with, I think that we can all work with is the idea of righteous cause. And, the word righteous, that's kind of an old-fashioned word, and I don't know how many, maybe some of you are turned off by it. I sort of am a little bit, it's like a high standard, but I think the idea of righteous is there is something worth showing up for, there's something worth talking about, there's something worth getting involved in. Righteous it kind of takes our morals and our ethics and it puts legs to it, and it says, what am I going to do about this, and how strongly do I feel about this? So a righteous cause of some sort. And then the other part of the, being a warrior is the idea of dedication. So we have this righteous cause, and I'm dedicated. I get up every morning, I suit up, I show up, I salute, I do what I have to do, I train myself, I mobilize, I have the conversation. And then the last piece is an intentional approach to achieving that righteous cause. So that's where the planning comes in. That's where we get ourselves grounded. And so we put all this together. And, one of the questions I have when I was putting this together was we have the dedication to it, and we have the intentional approach. And I think, so I come back to the word righteous, and I said, well, shouldn't all those pieces also be righteous? In other words, we should know that we're on the right side of whatever it is. We should feel good about that. We should ground ourselves in that. So I began to think about myself. I began to think about what, when I get up every day, what do I see as my righteous way forward? What is my righteous cause? Within myself and within those around me, and within the work I do, and within my relationships. How do I show up in those in a righteous way? And so we can, those of us in terms of spirituality, we can think about compassion, we can think about dedication and peace and love and those kinds of things. And so I wanted to, I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual person. I grew up around storytelling. I had a grandfather who should have been Irish, but he wasn't. He just told stories all the time, and he had a way of embellishing. I got to know his stories over the years, and I knew when he added stuff, and it was always great. It was, I just figured he was just trying to color it up a little bit, And so I grew up in that because with my grandfather, and also being raised in religion the way I was, you look for the metaphor, you look for the meaning. So even my grandfather, when he told the same story over and over again, it's like, oh, what's the meaning? And maybe he's changing the meaning a little bit, right? So I'm visual, and so I'm thinking about, okay, I want to think of a figure in my knowledge base that speaks to me in terms of the idea of a righteous cause and carrying that out in the dedication and all of that. And of course, I think that the religious world is filled with those people, Gandhi and King and everything. But I decided my mind really kind of landed on two characters who are secular characters, but I think that they transcend this. And they're two characters who came from really different backgrounds, and yet, were common backgrounds. Both of them were deeply personally flawed people, and their flaws were known in the community. Their flaws were known in front of everybody else. And they were people who came from hard-scrabble backgrounds. Okay. Do you want me to go here? I can go there. Okay. All right. So I'll go here. Is that good? Can you hear me? Okay. And there are people who come from hard-scrabble backgrounds, and history put them together, or they attracted each other, or whatever it is. And so for me, I've always been very interested in the United States history around the Civil War and everything that led up to it and everything that happened that. And I know that in the last 150 years, I think in some ways we haven't completely healed with that, but that's beside the point, because I want to talk about two figures in the Civil War, and that was Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant. And so Doris Kearns Goodwin maybe, she wrote a book called Team of Rivals about Lincoln that was considered probably one of the great historical works of all time. I think she will always be known for this. I'm sure she won a Pulitzer and things like that. And then Steven Spielberg took her book and turned it into the movie Lincoln. And she was on the set. Not only did the scripts have to really match up and everything, but he had her around all the time because he wanted to get it right. And he wanted to get it right because there were two things going on that this book centers on. That is the passing of the 13th Amendment and the end of the Civil War, okay? And the thing is that they both took place right around the same time. And so this is the story, is that in terms of Lincoln, if he could ever be criticized historically, is the fact that he prolonged the Civil War a little bit longer than he had to pass the 13th Amendment. So I want to take these in order. So he passed the 13th Amendment in terms of horse trading and arm twisting and manipulation and every single political card he could possibly play. And the subject of her book is, when she talks about the rivalries, is that Lincoln had put together a cabinet of people who were his rivals. He did that intentionally because he liked to talk about issues. He liked to see every side of the issues. But when it came to the 13th Amendment, that group started to kind of work against him. And we see Lincoln rise up, and this is what's so great about the movie, because Daniel Day-Lewis, oh my God, became Lincoln, and he would rise up from time to time. And Lincoln was a guy who liked to tell stories and yarns and metaphor and meaning, and he liked to go, and he was incredibly analytical. He loved to see both sides of the law. He loved to hear himself talk. He was a great orator. But there were times when he stood up and he said, we have to make this happen. This is moral and ethical. We have to take our country into the right direction around this issue of slavery. And at one point in the movie, and if you know anything about Lincoln, like a lot of people of his time, they came and went with the slavery issue. It was that horrendous thing to see happening in this country that was put together, especially against the backdrop of the Constitution. And you think to yourself, you think, what is Lincoln all about? What's he really all about? What's his mind? And he tells the story about once being along the Mississippi River long before he got to Washington, when he was, maybe he was growing up. And there was a barge of slaves being sent downriver to New Orleans to the slave markets. And these individuals were chained to this barge as they went by. He said it was the most horrendous thing he ever saw in his life. It was like he saw this, he could not get over it. And sometimes the righteous cause begins with each and every one of us from a very personal place. If you look at all the great, call them warriors, call them teachers, call them masters in the spiritual world, without exception, there is generally something that can't be shaken from the mind, once it's seen, once it's experienced. The great story of Siddhartha leaving the palace and going into the world and seeing how the world really was. And it had such a great impact on him that he spent his whole life chasing down the meaning of that, chasing down the understanding of that, chasing down the healing of that, chasing down trying to get involved in that. So very often the righteous cause for us is something that brings up a passion. And the thing about this physical world, this material world we live in, the heavy energies, the density of this planet, if you study metaphysics and you believe in metaphysics, this world, in terms of how it shows up, this thing we call Mother Earth, everything about it, lived in consciousness once upon a time. Whose consciousness? Our consciousness, Ernest Holmes says everything is known in the mind of God, which means this world is our consciousness. So we created this. We created this experience. A shelf life of how many years we're here, a physical body, gravity, internal combustion, all of it. Air conditioning, we came up with all of it, right? And so this has become an interesting place to live. And so in this interesting place to live, we come from places sometimes where we develop passions because You know, in the line of work I work in as a counselor, I use the term ring the bell. We have a moment that rings the bell. For Lincoln, it was the barge of slaves rung the bell. Something he could not get out of his consciousness, something that he wanted desperately to work his way through and to be part of changing the righteous cause and to set the intention and to go forward. When the 13th Amendment was passed, the reason it came up for vote in the House of Representatives was because in the end, Lincoln fabricated a lie and lived out that lie. And he traded on the fact that he was the most, as politicians would call him, the most honest man in Washington. And he knew that, so he sold the town on a lie. And the lie is that there was a contingent of officials from the South who were traveling to Washington to negotiate the end of the Civil War. And he had them sidelined in a town somewhere and just kept there and fed and talked to so he could get the vote in Congress. He was literally down to a day to get this vote because it was a righteous cause. Because even though it was dishonest, it was the healthy thing for our country to do. According to Doris Kearns Goodwin, according to her, there was a conversation between he and Grant before the end of the war, and they were sitting on the porch of a building near a horrible battlefield scene that had taken place the day before, and they both agreed that they had enabled each other to do horrendous things over the last 4 years. Unspeakable things is what they said. You and I have enabled each other to do unspeakable things over the last several years. What we know there, again, we get a glimpse into Lincoln of the reason he chose to become dishonest is because it was that important. It was the righteous cause. It's the direction to go. He needed the time. So these two men come together. Now I want to bring Grant into it. Grant was a man who struggled with alcoholism, was heavily addicted to tobacco, grew up with a father who was a tanner, which was, tough work, not wealthy people at all. He ended up going to West Point, but it wasn't because of a legacy or anything. He got himself in there somehow. He became a brilliant man militarily, but his flaws were known. The whole world knew he was an alcoholic. The whole world knew where he had come from. He didn't belong to the aristocracies that generally inhabited the military at that time in terms of officers. The thing that, because of that, and Lincoln having problems with his own father, who he once said, "My father and I really didn't like each other very well," and we both knew that, okay? For Lincoln and for Grant at that time, the best way you can describe in terms of what they were trying to do with America is they both said, "I want to reunite the family." Now, we know historically that wasn't the sentiment in Washington, and it wasn't the sentiment in the South, because some people wanted retribution. And we saw that play out. As you know, history, things have gone in some bad directions around what we call the healing of that great war. But for Lincoln and Grant, they wanted the family to come back together. So what's this mean specifically? For Lincoln, it was, we get our house in order around the slavery issue. And then when he traveled, and the the conversation I alluded to earlier when they said, you and I have enabled each other to do unspeakable things over the last few years to be able to do what we had to do. That trip, I believe, took place, or that conversation, in what I believe is called Fredericksburg, Virginia. I believe I'm right with that. Lincoln on his way to meet with Grant to talk about the end of the war, because Grant was going to have to present Lee with the conditions of surrender. According to the book and according to the movie, Lincoln travels by horse through the battlefield. And he looks at the fallen flags, and he looks, unfortunately, at the fallen soldiers. I don't think any of us, I have never personally witnessed anything. I have no idea what that was like, to ride a horse through a battlefield the day after. He saw the American flag. He saw the Confederate flag. He saw the bodies intertwined. It had a profound effect on Lincoln. So he sits on the front porch, and he and Grant are talking, and they both agree to the terms of surrender. Let them keep their sidearms. Let them keep their horses. Let us impose a parole that happens immediately. In other words, nobody's going to be arrested. Nobody's going to be hung. Nobody's going to be kept in jail. Empty it all out. Tell Robert E. Lee, go home, plant crops, and be with your family. And Grant agreed, because let's just reunite the family. That's the righteousness. That's the higher cause. And what's really amazing, the individuals who were involved with the conditions of surrender were Lincoln, Grant, and there's a third person, Eli Parker, who actually wrote it. Eli Parker was a Native American officer. And I mean, he wasn't like, kind of Native American. If you look at historical photos, he's Native American. This beautiful, dark-skinned individual. He wrote the terms of surrender. So if we think about the righteous cause that comes up in all three of these individuals, because of their backgrounds, because of their humility, because of, Lincoln's mental health issues, because of Grant's drinking issues, because of a Native American who has seen what he has seen, they come together with a sensibility and a sensitivity to basically say, go home. Go home. We've had enough. So I want to talk about righteousness in one more way, and I know I'm bumping up against time, but this is where I want to go with this. In the work that I do in working with people, there are a lot of modalities that I use to do my job as a counselor. And one of the modalities is what's called the healthy family construct. And the reason that I use this, first of all, you say, well, people say, is there such a thing as a healthy family? Well, yeah, there is. There's no such thing as a perfect family, but there is such a thing as a healthy family. And I have this modality. I don't, it was put together by a PhD somewhere. It's an absolutely wonderful piece of work, and it lays out what a healthy family looks like. Now, I use it because in the work that I do, one of the things I try and do with my clients is, especially people who have come from really rough backgrounds. Some people do not come into the world into a place that really prepares them to live a healthy life as an adult, unfortunately. And so when you do core issues work with people, what is that? Shame, chronic anger, chronic depression, isolation, addictive kinds of approaches to life, not having the greatest foundation. And this person is 35, they're 40, they're 50, they're whatever. So we go back into those core issues, and what I hear them say a million times is, well, Andy, what do I do? I can't go back in a time machine. That's right. And so there's an approach. It's called self-parenting. And this is the approach that you use in counseling. And this is why we bring forward the idea of what is a healthy family construct. So now we need to begin to parent ourselves. I'm really sorry you had the background you had, but the empowered piece is to start to parent yourself. And so this week, I was thinking about Grant and Lincoln and Eli Parker. And I was thinking about the righteousness of what they did. And what struck me was, oh my God, it's the healthy family construct, because Lincoln and Grant said, let's bring the family back together. The first aspect to a healthy family is an ability to develop trust. Imagine that. Imagine having the passion of a righteous cause compel you to build trust. What that would be like. Not to see someone out of pocket just as an adversary, but to see them as a potential family member, a brother, a sister within humanity, regardless of whatever our battle is at the time, to say, be able to say, I want to show you everything it takes in order for you to trust me, and I want to open up to how I can trust you. That's what the terms of surrender said. Trust us. Because, you can keep your horse, you can keep your sidearm, go home. I trust you to do that. I trust you to be with your family. I trust you to do the right thing. The next one is an ability to develop flexibility with those that we love. To accept their humanity. Why were Lincoln and Grant flexible? Because they were deeply flawed people. Grant said, yeah, I got a drinking problem. And Lincoln said, yeah, I got some mental health issues. And so I'm kind of quirky. I'm kind of interesting, And so you got to be kind of flexible with me. Lincoln had this incessant habit of just telling stories endlessly. There's a scene in the book and the movie where one of his cabinet members says, I do not want to hear another story, okay? I'm so sick of your stories. But Lincoln would just go ahead and tell a story, okay? The next one is an honest sharing of feelings, vulnerabilities, and challenges. To think of the first two, to open up. This is who I am. These are my vulnerabilities. These are my challenges. Again, as a counselor, one of the things that I know, every single time someone walks through the door and sits across the table from me for the first time, is I know that they're trying to get a read on me as a person, as being flawed, as being vulnerable, as being real. Otherwise, we can't connect. We can't connect with each other. And the last one is, the second to the last is a dedication to responding as opposed to reacting. Do you know where history went sideways after the Civil War? Lincoln was a responder. When he was assassinated, the people who took over were reactionary. And that started over 100 years of problems. If Lincoln had lived, the beginning of Reconstruction would have been very different. He didn't care about retribution. Remember, for him, they were the family. There were people in Washington who said, no, they're not the family. To respond is to create space, to take a breath. Any of you have a meditation practice? Meditation practice is actually psychologically a responding practice. Take a breath, respond, take a breath, create space. Instead of acting on a thought, we see a thought, we think about it, we see it drift by. I see you, thought, you're back. But I'm not going to jump on you right now. You can be there, that's okay. That's what Lincoln was about. And all of these put together result in compromise. And I believe in the time we're living in right now, if we want, in terms of being a wise warrior, if we want to look at the righteous cause, it is about compromise. And man, I know I have a hard time calling my sister. Because there's something about that attachment to ego, that attachment to reaction, Why should I compromise? Why should that be a righteous cause? Because I love her. Because she's my family. So I want to end by, I want to read a definition of righteousness. Yeah, you better get ready. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I told you, I get all wound up. Okay. So, I have a definition of righteousness from Charles Fillmore, who was the co-founder of Unity with his wife Myrtle. And Charles Fillmore has these really great definitions of things. And Charles Fillmore says of righteousness, righteousness is a state of harmony established in consciousness through the right use of spirit-given attributes. It leads directly to that which is eternal. For Grant and Lincoln, eternal is family. Eternal is oneness. Eternal is love. Truth, working in consciousness, always brings forth the perfect solution that reveals the wholeness of the human expression of affairs. The marriage of the righteousness of spirit, soul, and physical form. Thank you so much. All right, so. Thank you. So we're going to put a bow on it. I've run over, so I promise this will be a quick one. Okay, all right. Oh, as we come together in prayerful consciousness, we allow ourselves to be washed over by the idea of righteousness, to align ourselves with the highest ideals of our own physical expression and the expression that we each have an opportunity to be part of. And we allow the gifts of that to flow forth. Allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, allowing ourselves to be connected, allowing ourselves to remember the highest ideals that we are all part of. And we open ourselves up to glean the wisdoms of this wherever we can, because these wisdoms are around us in every way possible. I'm so grateful for this spiritual community. I'm grateful for what it stands for. I'm grateful for this day. And in my gratitude for this, I let my word go knowing that it's so. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to sing this 3 times through, so please join us.
One of my favorite songs. So, thank you, Reverend Andy. Lots to think about, right? Takes you back into history and back to the present moment. So, lots to think about. I wanted to say that I'm sorry I neglected the people at home. Did you guys want to wave to them? Shall we? Shall we say, hey there, hey people, we're glad you're here, we're glad you're listening. Sorry, I didn't snub you on purpose. Yeah, there we go. Love to all the people watching from home. It's always fun to go and look online to see who's sharing the time with us. So we're going to have the ushers come forward for our offertory right now. And as you're preparing your gift, think about it as you pull it from your pocket or your purse, or if you've given your intentional gift this month. Think about the good. Really, think about personally the good. The ways that you are paving the way for this center to stand strong, to bring the families home, to allow it to be a place that nurtures in this moment and forevermore. So with that knowing, as you place your gift, know that this is the blessing upon all. And we'll play our song. Thank you. Personalizes your gift. And we stand here as a family, thanking the prosperity, the abundance that continues to flow from your heart, from your hands, from your work, to our hands here and the work that we do as it continues to circulate in a profound power in its own self. Every gift is a treasure. So thank you, God, for sustaining and allowing us to thrive. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. And so it is. I'll excuse the ushers. Thank you. Great way to be in service. And reminding you that we will be up front if you have anything that came up for you in the talk that you wanted to empower yourself with a powerful treatment. We are here for you in that way. And now our final song is...
Yes, there's peace on earth.
There we go.
Everybody stand up and sing.
Yeah, if you could stand for this one. Yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, let's sing it for the whole world. That's a great way to end it. So I wanted to invite those that are new here today, if you'd like to join me up front, and Charlie and I will take you on a tour of the grounds. And some of the things that you might not know that our endowment has helped us do is the cottage is completely refurbished. We have new flooring, it's been painted, the little shed's been painted by it, and it's just a sparkle of love. So tell your grandchildren and your neighbors and the other children that this is the place to find their true self as they grow into their own knowing. And with that, just enjoy this absolutely hot day. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you.